my name is Lee and I like to talk about anime, manga, Korean dramas, and fashion. So if you are into any of that, then stick around. In this video, I wanted to share some mangas that I picked up because I finished their animes and the different reasons as to what made me pick up those mangas. So the first anime that I finished that made me really want to pick up the manga was My Hero Academia. My friends and I had all watched the 5th season together and the final episode came out, and I just really wanted to know more about where the story was going, what was going to happen, and so I binge read the entire manga from start to finish, probably in about less than a week, maybe like 3 days. I just had to know more. I needed to know what was going to happen. I was really impatient. I didn't want to wait for another season, and I'm really glad that I read it because hopefully the pacing in the anime in the upcoming seasons is going to be a little bit faster because it'll be animated, but I found in the manga it was just a little bit slow when reading it. However, I am really glad that I know what's going to happen because I am impatient, and this is one of those fandoms where spoilers are not safe. If you're anywhere on the internet, you will unfortunately be subjected probably to some spoilers eventually. So that was another reason why I decided to pick it up, was I didn't want to have anything spoiled or revealed to me. Also because Hawks is my comfort character and I needed to see more of him. Following that, immediately upon finishing the My Hero Academia manga, my friends convinced me to start reading the Jujutsu Kaisen manga. And I have to say, after talking about the My Hero one, I cried reading My Hero in 2 places. I cried reading Jujutsu Kaisen immediately afterwards, and I don't know what was going on with me during that time. Maybe I was just being overly emotional, but I have to say it made me extremely emotional reading parts of these that I'm really glad that I also read Jujutsu Kaisen. I don't like having things spoiled for me, and I feel like recently in the last couple weeks there have been a lot of things that have been brought out on Twitter that I'm really glad that I knew about ahead of time and that I read the manga the day it comes out. But Jujutsu Kaisen is a really great anime. It's one of my favorite animes, and so I loved all of the characters. I think that it's doing a really great job portraying the manga, and I just wanted to know more. I was curious, and I am so glad that I read it. I think the manga is really well done. It's beautifully drawn. I love seeing all of the characters, and I'm really excited to see what comes next, and I can't wait to see it all animated. Similarly, on the train of I need to know more, I started Tokyo Revengers as the show was coming out. I watched the first episode, and then I got impatient, as you can see a theme here, and I needed to know more. So I kind of read the manga as the show was coming out and then afterwards proceeded to it, and I took a break a few times, but I'm glad I read the manga because I found that the anime was harder to digest than the manga. The manga is very complex. It involves time travel, it involves so many different characters, it involves lots of different gangs and groups that I was really glad to have the visualization and to be able to go back to different things while I was reading it. And so for me, I'm really glad that I read the manga because when I was watching the show, I was kind of like, yeah, this is like a good show, but it's not like, oh my god, this is amazing. So when I read the manga and it went a little bit more in depth, it was a little bit more detailed, and now seeing where the author has been trying to go, I think it's really amazing. However, I will say there were parts where I was extremely frustrated, and I did stop reading it for months at a time because I was so mad at the author for what they were choosing to do. However, as of today, I am caught up on it. I think it's like 200 and something. I'll put the chapter name or the volume name here. Now that I'm at this point in the manga, everything makes sense, and I'm not mad about what's happening, and I'm not mad about what has happened because it all is now starting to come together and make sense. And I'm really glad that I read it because otherwise I would have felt really lost. Also, just a little sprinkle in here, my favorite characters are Mitsuya, Shinichiro, Mikey, and Draken. An honorable mention, but I cannot recommend the manga, is Kakuriyo no Yadomeshi, Bed and Breakfast for Spirits. This anime really beautiful. Odana, love him. This is one of my favorite animes, I have to say. I rewatch it all the time. It is a comfort show. I don't think it's ever going to get a second season, which makes me very sad, because the manga is incredibly slow to update. I don't know if it's faster in Japan, but to find translations of it is incredibly difficult, and the translations that I have found of it don't even complete how much of the anime is out. So this is more of an honorable mention because I did start this manga after I finished the show because I wanted to see more of the characters. I love the world that it's created. I love Odana, and I wanted to see more of all of that. But unfortunately, I don't really recommend this manga often just because there's not much of it out. I also started reading Sasaki to Miyano after I finished the show because it was just so comforting and sweet and adorable. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel watching the show. However, my favorite manga of all time is Horimiya. And watching Sasaki to Miyano, it gave me a similar feeling of when I read Horimiya for the first time. So that was one of the main reasons why I picked up the manga, was because I wanted to have that feeling back. I really enjoyed that feeling, and I feel like I'm constantly looking for manga that gives that like lighthearted, sweet feeling, but that also has a little bit of depth to it. So I really enjoyed the show. I can't wait for the movie, and I really enjoyed the manga. Now, there are a couple of manga that I started before the shows came out, mainly because I knew I was going to really like the show, so I thought, why don't I just start the manga anyway? One of those being a manga where the anime hasn't actually come out yet, but it's in the process of being animated and it will be coming out. It is called My Happy Marriage, and I mentioned this in my last video, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but it's really, really beautiful. I'm loving the story. I like the main characters a lot, and I think it's going to be really beautifully animated. There's not too much of the manga out yet, so I'm not sure how much of this is going to be animated and how much is going to be like ahead of what's out for the manga. So I'm really curious to see what they're going to do with this and how that's going to work. Another show, when I saw the trailer and I saw that it was being released, I knew I was going to like, and I had to start the manga ahead of time, was Horimiya. I knew ahead of time when I saw the trailers for it that I was going to like the manga. I read the manga super fast. It like I pumped it out real quick, and I adore it. As I said, it's my favorite manga of all time. Hori is my highest kin in any manga or anime. I really love her. I loved Miyamura. Their relationship is so healthy, both in the manga and in the show. I honestly am really disappointed though in how the show sped through the manga and how it left out so many amazing and incredible moments that I think people would have really enjoyed. And honestly, I'm sad that the show wasn't better because I think it would have encouraged people to read it more. But I'm really glad I read it before watching it, because I think if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have gone and read the manga. And now it's one of my favorites, so definitely check it out. And finally, another manga that I started because I saw the trailer and I knew I was gonna love it was one that's coming out right now, and it is Spy Family. And I am so glad I started this manga when I did, and I really, really love it. So check it out if you like the show. I think if you're enjoying the show, you'll really like the manga. It's very similar. Yeah, that's pretty much all I've got. Thank you so much for watching. What are some animes or movies that made you want to pick up the mangas? And what are also some mangas that you picked up that you're really glad you read before the show started?